Hey everyone, Rochester News Auditor here. And today me and the girlfriend decided to take a special little trip just to see everything and she could see some of the sights. We are at Fort Oswego in Oswego, New York. Now they're closed for the season, but yeah, still a beautiful day out. It's around 50 degrees and it's just after noon. See if I can get a look in there. Some of the inside, that's about as far as I can go because of the gate being locked. But it sits right off of Lake Ontario, which is really nice. A lot of good boating in Lake Ontario. And some of the old things, the old metal shutters and everything. I know News Now Houston does a lot of like videoing of like the historic sites and everything. I know he would appreciate this. A couple of the little gun things. If they were ever attacked, they had room to move the guns up and down and sort of angle them out a little bit, give them a little bit better field of view. And a couple small ones. But right out there is Lake Ontario. And then you got a little bit of factory here for like oil tankers and whatnot. And then that little structure right there was the lighthouse keeper's home when there was a lighthouse here. And if I think correctly, the lighthouse, maybe it's on the inside, or I'm not sure if it's there anymore. But there's a little radio tower, a little bit of a light. Look out there, there's a small lighthouse and everything. You got a nice little cannon set up there on top. Now these walls are about 3 to 4 feet thick of like natural stone and everything. And it looks almost like a bunker, but you have a lot of earth on the inside against the walls, so the walls would stay pretty much up. And it's actually a pretty decent thing. You know, it's beautiful out here. Coastal Warning Display Tower. The Coastal Warning Display or Storm Signal System was developed in 1898 by order of President William McKinley. There's hundreds established at yacht clubs, marinas, and U.S. Life-Saving Service, which is the Coast Guard today, to hoist flags, pennants, and colored lights to warn mariners of storms at sea. You know, the National Weather Service retired its display network in 1989, and they operated until about 1970. In 2007, the U.S. Coast Guard reestablished a flags-only coastal warning display program at selected small boat stations. So it's pretty interesting. If you look down there, look at all that aluminum. For a while there, I worked a job running a end loader that melted down aluminum and took out all the impurities and put it into those types of molds and sent it out. That was a fun job. And it was kind of tricky because when you loaded the aluminum into the furnace, you only had about 8 feet, and the bucket for the end loader was just under 8 feet. So you had to be careful to get it in there and not get caught. If you got it cut, good chance you can end up turning the end loader off to the side. But this is one of the shipping yards that will ship it out to different places. And a lot of that aluminum there came from either the plates that the magazines use to do their printing and whatnot. Anything from cans, aluminum shavings and whatnot. And it all just gets melted down and recycled back into service as different things. Now up there's one of the buildings from the fort in Fort Oswego. And you got a little cannon right there, and there's another bigger cannon on the other side of that white building, or little white shed. We'll walk around and see what we see. The girlfriend's up there walking. She loves the New York weather with the snow on the ground and everything, but she hates the cold. But she's from over by Furry's area. Furry being Furry Potato. And you gotta love it. She drove 2.5 days, roughly, to be with me when her and I first moved in together. And she loves the leaves changing up here and everything, but she hates cold. So we'll see what happens in the next year. She has family still back in California, and I know she wants to move back. So we'll see when that can happen. But let's see. Oh, the cannon is basically in that little white building. So that's pretty cool. Keeps the cannon operators from getting shot. And if you see how high, I'm 6 foot, that wall's probably about 9 foot. And then you got another probably 8-9 feet on top of that, just in the grass and whatnot, in the earth. You got a little bit of wood over here, like wooden fencing. Let's see what it says. Premises under video surveillance. Huh. Let's see. And of course, we got the old tick warning. Nasty little buggers. But let's see. Poison ivy, keep out. Grounds under 24-hour surveillance. Just near here is a Army Reserves post. So it's it's one of those things. Oh, I see a camera. A couple cameras. Let's see. Right there, just below the peak on the right hand side, maybe 7 feet. Or even less. And a couple more of the signage that says the same thing. But I can't wait for springtime because I have a 16-foot boat and I'll be going out and probably coming up this way in the boat. Do like a little camping trip. Take the boat up to the mouth of the St. Lawrence River where it feeds into Lake Ontario and do that. And girlfriend would appreciate it because she's been wanting to camp. The last camping trip we did was in California when we drove out there to see her family for a week. And we left very early Friday morning and made it there by Saturday night. So yeah, it was a fun drive. And this building I think is a little newer than the actual fort right here, but just as long. Open container law in effect and will be enforced. Office of Parks and Recreation, Historic Preservation, New York State. So that is a little bit newer. Video surveillance. They need to replace that sign. But look at all this. That is amazing. All the work that they did back in the day to build this fort as big as it is. And actually it's not that big, but it's big enough, you know, for like 200, maybe 300 soldiers. And over here some of the wall actually came down, so kind of makes you wonder how good their Parks and Recreation are keeping up with it. I mean, from there, a good 20, 30 feet of the wood missing. Right there's actually a piece of it, so that had to fall down recently. I mean, anyone could just jump that and climb it. And they got the chimneys covered, except for the one up there. But then again, that might be covered. But this is a beautiful park. And I asked the girlfriend what she wanted to do today, and she's like, well, I want to go somewhere where I've never been. So we got to talking and everything, and she mentioned Oswego, that she's never been out this way. Well, I worked for the auto auction. I used to deliver cars out this way, so we filled the tank in the car, and here we are. Now, it's a beautiful sunny day. I can't go on about that enough. It makes it worth it. Now, if you look over there, you got that little house right there, or little building. That is part of the Army Corps the Army Reserve building. Then you got that other one that's right there. Sorry if this is a little bumpy. I don't have a stabilizer with me. But you got the Army Reserve barracks and everything, and I've already seen a couple out there. But yeah. I kept thinking, I was like, oh geez, who do I know that has been to the Army Reserves filming on a public property? I keep thinking about the otters that do that. Here we go. Give you a little map of the fort and everything. If I can get it. There it is. I can barely see the screen, but that's what the fort looks like. That's the map of it, more or less. But there's all the waterways coming in and whatnot. And then there's another section. All four versions of the Fort Ontario, built from 1755 to 1839, were surrounded by a ditch, dry moat, and earthworks constructed of dirt and timber facing material called revetment, designed to provide a protective barrier between the garrison and any attackers. Attackers would have to endure withering musket and artillery fire from the fort while ascending a long, sloping hill before reaching the ditch. Once in the ditch, they would be caught in a concentrated crossfire of muskets, artillery, and grenades. Here's another view of, well, it's Fort Ontario. So, but that's pretty much what it looked like back then. Here's a 1900 photograph of it. And then there's this one. It's the ditch and timber revetment by Bastion. It is crazy how they went and did all this. And gives you a little thing. Little different areas. Here's a 1906 postcard photograph of Officers Row. The section behind the administration building at left remained until about 1908. I know this, it's very bright. So, but this is the oldest view of Fort Ontario, garrisoned fort by U.S. built by English in 1755. So that was a postcard circuit in the 1930s. I don't know where the girlfriend just got to. Oh, I see her. She's walking down that way. So I'll head down that way. Yeah. Just this past week, I had to shell out some money to get the car fixed, which it's a 2017. I shouldn't have to be paying a lot of money to have something done to it, especially mechanical, when there should be nothing wrong with it. You know, we drove it to California, which put about 7,000 miles on it, going there and back. I was driving the car to Syracuse back and forth when I was doing construction. I'll cross over real quick. And had to get it inspected in December, so I had to do the brakes. Well, the car has that electronic parking brake, which is always fun because you have to put it in a maintenance mode to be able to do any type of work to it. And you have to take it out of maintenance mode when you're done. Well, I didn't know this. You have to have a special tool to do the back brakes. Front brakes are no problem. They slide in just like any other brakes. But with the electronic parking brake, it when you have it in maintenance mode, you have to have the special tool to spin the piston on the caliper like you would a screwdriver, and then be able to push it in. And once you get that and you can push it in, you're good. And you can put your brake pads in and whatnot. Well, somehow the pigtail clip that connects to the caliper broke, and it kept sliding in and off. So I put some electrical tape to hold it there and whatnot, and was able to get it situated, but it just wasn't enough, and the girlfriend went to go to work, and yeah, she was having issues. The parking brakes kicked in and she couldn't drive. So we had to take it to the dealership and have it fixed. Granted, it was a little over $200 to fix it, but the part was $46 and I could have did it myself. So we ended up spending money on that and getting it done, so it's a little hectic. Over here we have a post cemetery, which I wonder how old the tombstones are in here. They actually look pretty clean and not falling apart, so looks like they have an old freestanding fireplace, which might have been a chapel at one point, or part of a chapel. But let's see. See what it says about the post cemetery. Those buried at Fort Ontario. Huh. Dedicated on July 1st, 1906, Fort Ontario's Post Cemetery contains the graves of 77 British and American soldiers, as well as some of their wives, mothers, and children. Southeast, so that would have been over in that area, I believe. That's pretty interesting. I'll take a walk through. Maybe it could be this. You know, some of these stones look fairly new. So, Charles H. Anderson, 1855 to 1930. U.S. Infantry, 23rd Division. Rosemary Hudson, infant, January 27th, 1930. Neil Fram, May 26, 1931. Some of these are pretty old, 1932. James McKee, Kentucky, Sergeant, U.S. Army, October 21st, 1934. Frowell, I can't make that out, but some of this is actually pretty interesting. William II, son of Private H.P. Davis, U.S. Army, April 1937. Private O.M. Corpse, 1937. So this is some of the newer ones. 1934 being, I think, the newest. Let's look over here. First Staff Sergeant Geo Howard, United States of America. Looks like 1929 on that. 1918, Private U.S. Army. Look at this one. Mitch L. Keene, 3rd U.S. Infantry. USA. Peter Lower, age 65 years, Sergeant Coastal Army. That's what it looks like. 20 years old right here. February 10th, 1863. And one that broke. There's another that broke. Looks like someone might have kicked it. 1892. He was 42 years old and 7 months. Othello A. Cox. Joshua Card, 1877. I could barely make it out, but yeah. James Ladd, 9th U.S. Infantry Division. This is 1907. Patrick Coyle, Private of Company K, 23rd Infantry Division, who departed this life. 49 years old. This has to be an old one. I mean, the trees where this person's buried is right underneath this tree, and honestly, I think that was a good spot that they chose to do that. 23rd U.S. Infantry Division. Yeah. Soldiers, 1776 to 1783. Unknown. So now we're getting into the unknown soldiers part. 1783. Geo Fike soldier, 76 to 83. So it looks like, here we go. I'll read this plaque that's up here. 1776 to 1906, in grateful remembrance of the services of 12 unknown revolutionary soldiers who lie buried here. This monument is erected by Fort Oswego Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, July 2nd, 1906. Yeah, I love the fact that they recognize unknown soldiers that probably they didn't know or whatnot. It just, that's the type of America that we live in. You know, no one really recognizes the fact that people fought for us. If you look over there, that, off in the distance, looks like a nuclear power station with only one thing. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I know News Now Houston would definitely love this place. I think if he gets a chance, he should come up here and just take a look at it. He likes all the old forts, and there's an Army Reserve base right on a public road. So, hint, hint, come on, Dave. But yeah. Take a look at this plaque. To perpetuate the memory of the men and women who gave their lives, their service, their fortunes to achieve and maintain American independence. By Fort Oswego chapter, dedicated August 17th, 1976. Yeah. Now to figure out where the girlfriend got to. But, I'm not as big of a history buff as News Now Houston. But this is actually kind of cool. Oh, there she is. She's waiting for me. She's hiding behind the tree, ready to jump out and scare me. Ah! Can you pull that out for me? I already got you on camera. So. That's alright. It's from a distance. Just open it.
It is open.
I'm having her pull a cigar out for me so I can hold the phone one hand. Thank you. Do me a favor. Hold that. I don't have it facing me. It's facing that way. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, summertime, it looks like kids can come in and throw ball or play Little League or whatnot, or even softball.